what is the topic today? Scenario? Just is it turkey scenarios?
Yeah, and I wanted to add in a little bit about calling tips because we haven't gone over that much.
Okay. Jake
If we
DeLee
get a chance.
is questioning. So we're going to do a Jake DeLee podcast, I think, one day, just for
with
Jake.
all his questions.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Well, it is good, Jake. Don't stop, man, because it gives me good information to make sure that I'm passing on. So, all right, guys. Well, welcome back to the Raised Hunting Podcast. Good to see you guys again this week. We are 1 week closer to turkey season. I'm David Holder. I'm joined today by Warren and Easton, and we're going to be talking turkeys again. I love talking about turkeys. I like people. Someone asked me again the other day, what's your favorite thing to hunt? I wish people wouldn't ask me that question because it's whatever is coming up next. But I do love turkey hunting like no other.
I think turkeys I probably like more than anything.
I don't know. Deer.
The only thing is it's a short window.
Yeah, it's good for a week.
Like deer will keep me consistently occupied for an excessively long period of time. But, oh, man, I like calling turkeys. I like calling anything. Anything you can communicate with them is fun.
I don't know if there's any other animal, though, that's more frustrating than turkeys.
That's because you don't hunt them correctly.
Like I've said before, I'm really good at getting shots at turkeys. I'm just bad at killing them.
You got to become one with the turkey.
But the turkeys are supposed to be ones where, like an elk, right? If you have a frustrating elk hunt, it's anticipated. Like if it's easy, that's a surprise. It's not supposed to be easy, right? Where turkeys, you're not supposed to have to work that hard.
Maybe you have the wrong expectation.
There's a whole lot of guys out there right now going, he's a dumbass.
I think
there is a lot of guys that say it's easy as heck.
But there's a whole lot that say that what they love about it is how hard it.
Anybody that says it's super easy just hasn't turkey hunted very much.
Absolutely,
and that's not necessarily true.
It is.
That's not necessarily true.
Unless you live in a place like John, where you can just walk outside and fart, and they're going to come running.
Yeah, I think hunting Merriams is a completely different world. Because that's what I got to grow up on.
Right.
Which even the Easterns and Kalispell were harder to kill than the Merriams.
Yeah, but you haven't. But my point is, what I'm trying to do is explain what the guys that are back east and down south.
Yeah, it's different.
They're working. They're elk hunting for a turkey.
Those guys would waylay Merriams, and they would be "What in the frick?"
I think that's why a lot of them.
That's why a lot of them do it once, and then they're like, "I'm not doing that anymore. That was way too easy." It's the first thing they say is, "What the hell kind of gobble was that?" It doesn't even sound like that. And
because if you think back when I was a kid, between you and I, we were killing at least 10 turkeys a year.
Well, the best trip we should have ever had, which you and Jim were notorious for never making the first shot count. Every freaking time we went, and every time I would let you guys hunt first. And every time...
Or I shot Jake's.
We shot and missed that one, shot and missed that one. Then we would get going. But in 2 days, we should have killed 9 turkeys with our bows.
Was that the day
in
I
Nebraska?
shot the 2 Jakes?
And Nebraska was a different breed, though.
Yeah.
We should make it a point to go find the new Nebraska.
I think I have it.
The problem
I think you do too, but it's not really the same even.
There's
not the amount of
numbers,
birds and not as many people. People can't go there.
I'm talking like that state in general, though.
The next place though that you can go and freaking
whack some turkeys,
get over the counter tag, go to some public ground, find the right spot, or knock on a door or two and get her going. Because even Nebraska, you could knock on doors.
We were going to Nebraska. We were killing 3 apiece. Then we were going. At home, were we only killing 1 at home?
2. You killed 2 in Montana.
I thought it was 1, but
were we going over to the east side to kill 2 though?
No. Yeah, you had to go east to kill the second one. Yes.
Okay, so I don't think I did that very often. I think because when we lived in Kalispell area, I was only killing 1.
And then we would go over to Idaho and hunt them over there.
Yep. Oh, that's
Idaho
right.
birds were fun.
Idaho birds were fun.
Yeah. Well, but again, you guys had...
Those are Merriams,
That was one of your most frustrating hunts. I'll never forget you guys standing there going, why'd we get stuck here where they were all gobbling over top of our head and we couldn't get them to come in? And you and Mom go up there on the mountain and we heard 1 turkey and he came in and I shot him.
Looking back, like...
Me and you hunted separate?
How old were we?
Yeah, you two were at the...
No, we were at the...
Right by those people's house.
We were at the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
Remember? And then they were roosting over our heads.
We couldn't get them to come in?
Well, part of our problem, I think, is if you don't remember the railroad tracks. Well, it was like a coming
Big
down the
berm.
mountain across from us,
Yeah.
and so we hadn't heard anything all day. And then the birds, I think they went up to the top of that, and they just pitched,
Oh,
and then they
flew
were
right in.
all right over our heads,
Yeah.
gobbling their heads off as we're sitting right underneath them with our blind and decoys.
Sounds about right.
But Dad's giving us crap, and I think I was like our guide at like 14.
Yeah, I was sitting there thinking I had to have
Shit, you've been hunting turkeys for 7 years, you know.
I
So
killed 20.
I had to have been under like 8 or something.
oh yeah, you
7.
couldn't hunt yet.
Yeah, no, I couldn't hunt any of those western places at the time.
That was the most crackhead birds I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, the flyer.
What the
One that
what
you
the
guys,
flu-
yeah,
Yeah, well, no, you should have.
I vividly remember that one.
that was unbelievable.
All right, well, should we get into a little bit? Maybe we could talk about that as a situation.
God dang, now
what to
I'm all
do?
fired up. Get ready.
All right, guys. So before we go, now we get off topic because we did jump a flock of turkeys one time that flew. These guys, our buddy Jim hunted with. It was usually me, Warren, and Jim that went turkey hunting. Easton was still too young, and they jumped a flock of probably 150. No, you were hunting because it was me and you standing there next to the rocks. That's what
The cliff?
Yeah, when
The
they all
video?
came flying over.
That was them bumping them?
Yes.
See, I thought that was them just pitching to go to bed.
No, those
We were
guys.
standing under that.
Oh my
Yeah.
God! Yeah,
It's
I think we
unbelievable.
have it. Maybe Nick will be able to put it on there. But if you've never seen turkeys like geese, I mean that's truly what it was. Just 150, 200 turkeys flying over your head, and they weren't in formation, but they were in groups.
Well, they're
and
definitely not
it was
formation.
like, and it was
It was loud.
just freaking out as they just kept going and kept going. And I was like, holy moly, how many turkeys are in this group? Yeah, that was fun. All right, before we get started on this podcast, though, I want to remind you guys, because you guys are so awesome, we got new black hoodies, and black on black, but we changed them slightly so the raised hunting logo sticks out just a little bit. They're freaking awesome. If you guys haven't grabbed one, you're going to want to get one. If you already have the black on black, sorry, you're going to want another one.
Well,
Because-
unfortunately, too, it's only for the large 2XL and 3XL right now.
Well, this is for the big guys anyhow.
Yeah, yeah.
Only the
But
big
if
guys.
we sell the rest of them, we're switching
We're
them all
switch
to that.
yes.
Yeah.
So anyhow, go to the website, check out the Raised Scents. They're not all in yet. But in the Raised Canine line, the supplements that we have for your dogs, if your dogs are suffering, man, don't let them do that. I mean, I can tell you right now, I feel bad that we didn't find this stuff earlier for Dan because now I got a dog that trots down the road and wants to go shed hunting and everything. So make sure you check out the Raised Canine stuff. But the big one is the black on black sweatshirts. They're kick-ass, period. So, all right, let's talk turkey scenarios.
Well, we got to do Warren's.
Oh, yeah.
thingamajiggers.
Warren's got to do a shout-out. Sorry. Got ahead of myself. I'm ready.
The Chase Productions. Brock here again. Been a minute. Love this episode. If you guys ever want to hunt some huge hard hammering Easterns, hit us up. My friend and I have a guiding service up here. Not that you need it, but it'd be a super fun buddy hunt for some huge birds.
Another compliment.
Where are they at?
Sweet. I don't
wonder
know.
what
He didn't
huge
say.
is, if he's
where,
talking
but-
spur, beard, or if he's talking weight. We did talk about weight on the last podcast, so.
Just quickly.
Al the Camo Hunter. I live in a neighborhood surrounded by woods and a couple of farms, but I'm still in the city limits. I own all the woods behind my house and have permission to be on my neighbor's property, but all I can do is trap since my hunting camp is 3 hours away. My uncle owns it, and I've really gotten into it. But now he's talking about beavers.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, that's why guys bow hunt. You don't hear gunshot in city limits. But you hear a gunshot in city limits. You don't hear a bow shot in city limits.
Al the Camo Hunter. I'll send you a message or reply on YouTube because he had more of a specific question.
All right.
Not related to beavers, though. And then Jeremy Rupsick. He's giving Nick some shit as always needed.
Oh, yeah.
William Ayers, SP4TT. Said for a minute here he thought he was watching Hee Haw.
What's hee haw?
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was
Oh,
show or
Lord,
something.
he must
Yeah.
be old too.
Oh, jeez. Eric Robards. He says, what a start to a podcast. That was because when Dad couldn't pronounce his
he texted me
name
about that.
correctly.
I don't know what Nick bleeped out
What?
because he was trying to figure it out too, and I couldn't figure it out, and it was freaking funny.
I don't have a clue.
I was even
Nick
trying to
had
read your
replied and
lips.
said, "Talk about a total cluster." David must have taken an extra scoop of pre-workout before hopping on the podcast. It's that hydrogen water, man.
Damn right.
Where is your hydrogen water?
It's cooking.
It's cooking.
I'm hydrogen in it right now.
Your hydrogen in it. All right, I'm all fired up now. This sucks.
I'm out of stories, so
Yeah,
if people need to send more stories in, I finally caught up.
We should be thinking about, as we do this one, let's do this one, and then everybody try to think of your favorite turkey hunt. That would be a fun thing, I think, to share.
All right.
See, that's not fair. I got so many.
There's got to be one.
Boo-hoo.
Huh?
There's got to be one.
No, there doesn't.
There does.
Okay. I guess.
I have a
there has to
list
be.
of scenarios that I was writing. I think Dad's thought about it some. I don't know if you have.
Of scenarios?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I thought that we could go through a lot of different scenarios. But this, if for anybody that has made it this far, because we've BS'd this way, but this is probably going to be one of your best out of the series because it's going to be the most hands-on as far as direct to what you're probably going to see or run into or whatever else, and we're going to try to help you combat those issues. At the same time, I'm sure this podcast will be done again here in the next 2 or 3 weeks because we're probably going to have a lot of you guys sending in, you had this happen, or this happen, and we may not have all the answers, but we can give you some tips. So
Just don't do what our buddies. I had a buddy, Brock, still a buddy, but he hasn't done it in a long time. Not Brock from Missouri, Brock from Montana.
Yeah.
And don't do what he did. Okay, so we did this. I didn't have a podcast back then. I did seminars, and anyhow, he was getting into elk hunting. Brock was quite a bit younger than me. I was friends with his dad as well. And anyhow, one day I'm driving down the road, and I get a phone call at like 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, and it's Brock, and he's whispering. And I'm like, what the heck? And Brock is like, hey, man, what do we do if we got an elk bugling at like 75 yards, but we can't get him to come in? And I'm like, why are you asking me that right now? Why are you whispering? No, we're here right now. Don't do that. Don't call us when you're out turkey hunting. And so anyhow, I pull over because I have to pay attention to because he's literally asking for help right now. So I talk him through a couple different things. Bull comes to 15 yards and the kid missed. Brock, his buddy.
So
Dang.
you should do that then.
yeah.
I should charge a
Because it
lot if
worked.
I'm going to
It got a
freaking
shot.
talk someone through as they go.
He was on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
I-
Use a phone a friend.
I have to.
Called the right freaking dude. Holy
I have
cow.
to pick on Brock though, and I don't know if Brock's ever listening to this or not. But if he is, this was just really funny. So hopefully he doesn't take it to heart. We're
It's
driving
a
down.
big bull too, wasn't it?
From what they said, yeah, like 370 kind of bull. Yeah, like big bull.
I think I was with you.
When he called?
Yeah, because you answered it all normal, and then
Yeah, and I
you're
was
like
like,
whispering, and I was like, what the frick?
Yeah, because then you catch yourself doing what they're doing. You know, like, okay, so do this. I'm sitting in my truck. I could have been talking normal. But anyhow, me and him went turkey hunting one time. His dad owned some ground. He may still own it over by Glendive, Montana. And at Glendive, there's a river. I can't remember if it's the Muscle Shell or the Powder River, but goes through there. Anyhow, someone called me, and I'm on the phone. Brock's in the passenger seat. We're driving across the river. And as we're doing, he starts hitting me, and he's pointing. And I'm like, what the heck is he? Oh, yeah. Turkeys are roosted in the trees, like a whole bunch of them. And I'm like, I just kind of give him the thumbs up because I'm still on the phone, and we go across. And so anyhow, it was that evening or whatever. And I was like, did you see any toms or anything? He's like, no, I couldn't tell. It was a bunch of turkeys. I'm like, he's like, did you look? And I was like, I just quickly saw a bunch of black dots in the, but that's cool because his dad owned the ground on the other side of the river there. So next morning we know where we're going. This is kind of scenario based. We get down along the edge of the river. I'm not hearing any gobbling or anything. I'm like, man, they're not making any noise yet. So let's just get set up. We know they're here. We saw them. So we get the blind set up, get some decoys set out, and nothing. I hear one turkey way, way, way far away. So we sit there for like an hour. And now I'm like looking through my binoculars, and I'm like, what am I seeing over there on the edge of the river? Turkey buzzards. Oh. We had set up on like 30 turkey buzzards that were over some dead carcass on the edge of the thing. I was like, Brock, Did you not? You couldn't tell yesterday that those were buzzards and not turkeys. He's like, oh, I didn't know. I thought they were turkeys.
In his defense, you did say you looked too.
But I was not paying any attention.
That's fair.
So anyhow.
So as a collective, how many turkeys do you think that we've killed now?
Our family or friends or everything. I mean,
let's just say between the three of us.
Well, I can tell you that I've killed 50 or 47 with my bow. I counted
a lot
on the
more
other day.
than that. Though.
Yeah, I think you got to be more.
You
than
got
that.
like 100 beards on the wood board we got in there.
Yeah, but
not with a
some
bow.
moms.
We're just asking in general. Validate your knowledge.
I don't know.
57 isn't
I'm
that
probably
impressive.
pushing 100 turkeys.
I think you're way over.
I'd
go count those freaking beards in there. It goes for 15 yards, stacked not even an inch apart, where it's just beard.
You got to think too. There was a solid 5 to 10 years there, probably 7 to 10 years, where you were killing 3 to 5 a year. Because we go to Nebraska and you were killing 2 or 3, and then you were killing 2 at home. And then I remember the 1 year too, like you went to Kansas or somewhere else, and so
the most I've ever killed in 1 year is 5.
But you did that a couple years
I've done it a couple times, but 5's the most.
Okay.
Yeah, so your math is way off. So Dad's
how many do you
well
think
over
you've
100.
Killed?
I think I'm only at 15 or 20.
I feel like I'm like 20 to 30.
Yeah, you're like
Something
10
like
or 15 ahead of me, and I had like 15 or 20 because I've killed one just about every year, but I double up multiple years.
So we could probably say we're in the 150 to 170 killed turkeys between the three of us.
If we go to friends, that's where it really goes.
Yeah, people that we've
called a turkey in for them, or like a Marty and Jim, and Brock, and all these people that I've hunted with over the years.
Well, and just to specify that, like all great guys and good dudes, but like we killed the turkey for them. They pulled the trigger, but it was like either our spots and we put them in there and we're calling for them and we're setting everything up and stuff, just trying to let people know like it was our information that was helping them when we were teaching them. If you counted those, we got to be at least 300.
I figured around 300.
Okay, so that's 300 killed birds. So we've probably been in triple the situations.
Oh yeah, we've lost a lot.
Well, I wasn't saying hit ones.
I'm talking
about we lost like
they didn't come in. Yeah,
Droopy, but last time he comes in, we don't get a shot at him. He freaks out.
So
but that's a scenario.
So let's say what out of the probably 900 scenarios we've been in, what do you think is the number one most common scenario?
Well, I have put some effort into
bird that we don't kill.
Oh, that you don't kill?
Yeah,
because bird.
Yeah, chicken bird.
A bird that doesn't come into early season. It's chicken bird. Late season.
Yeah,
it's
let's
an educated bird.
Let's go early season. Like, what would you say to expect? First week here in, I feel like Iowa birds would be more applicable to everybody listening than like
we're pretty average on.
Well, here's the thing. I did some research on this topic before we came and sat down, so I'd have some specific scenarios. And the one thing that I had not looked at that actually jumped out at me was I have truly honed my skill of picking the right spot.
Yeah.
And because I'm committing almost every time now. I'm picking the spot where I feel like, okay, they're roosted here. I've done, and this is where I was going with, we just put out a video, guys, on YouTube about scouting for turkeys and how important it is and knowing what they're going to do. And once you know what they're going to do, then you do what you need to do and then stick with it. And part of that is because of the way that I hunt them with a blind and decoy. It's difficult to move all that stuff.
So what's the number one thing, though, that you think that is causing not killing a bird? It's like talking to Trump sometimes.
What's the number one thing causing not killing one?
What is the number one situation you don't kill the bird?
I have to think about what causes it. I mean,
a big number is chicken birds, ones that just aren't reacting properly, I think. The other one that I used to think would be you have groups. But I've done it now multiple times, and I've watched this freaking turd call them in that I think like my last 3 or 4 birds have been groups. And so I think but I've changed how I hunt those birds. But I'm trying to think of the ones that don't.
Well, so let's go walk through this. Like if I think back to the last few years, I'm trying to think of what I feel like typically plays out. And I feel like and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm thinking of the first day here in Iowa, I feel like typically what happens is we know where birds are roosted, and then we're set up within 200 yards of that in the morning. They may be up in a draw or something, and we're down in a field where there's somewhere we're expecting them to come and strut. And they get out of the tree. They hang around the tree for an hour, gobbling and going nuts. A lot of times they don't come right in. They shut up, or just now it's a gobble every 25 minutes, 30 minutes. And then it seems like around 9:30, they may start to pick up again, and now they're more receptive to when you call, and then all of a sudden one breaks, or the whole flock seems to come in. Would that be common or fairly accurate?
Yes.
I think that's more common than what I've had. I think the one farm that I've hunted the past 3 years opening day ain't like that. But elsewhere, because those birds come down, and last year was the longest we sat there, and it was probably an hour until they finally came in. Every year before
we saw them
they're coming down, and they're
30
ready
minutes.
to freaking rumble, which is weird. And I think that's odd, but you can see it, obviously. I mean, people may have that happen.
Okay, well, so let's just take that scenario, then we can go to that one. Do you think that most guys are killing those birds, or do you think that they are leaving too early or moving too quick?
Oh, I think that that is something that we've learned that to get us over that, because what Warren is referring to, I believe, is the breeding time, that when those birds fly down, and they shut up. And so I can't tell you how many times I know I did it, so I know new hunters are probably doing the same thing. He's gone.
I can answer that personally. Yes. Well, I'm the one that is. It is hard for me to wait, and you have got to trust that they are there.
They're still there.
It is very difficult, and that farm may have screwed me because of that. But I've sit with him long enough. I won't do what he does, but I leave way too early sometimes, and I know it. I just can't sit still any longer.
I would say of us at this table, no offense, Dad is the best turkey hunter. And
for sure. The
thing that I would say sets Dad apart from Easton and I is patience.
Ugh.
And so for me, turkeys are very much about, like, I want fired up in the action.
Oh, yeah.
So when I hear one, like in the morning, all of a sudden it'll be like, oh no, they're 300 yards away. And Dad's willing to sit there, usually not all day, but like till noon. Mm-hmm. No question. Easton, I think, is worse than me.
I was going to say the other. You're the one that we can't walk through the woods without blowing calls everywhere.
It all depends on what time of day and whether the hitching post is open or not.
If I'm with Alyssa, that's worst case scenario.
Right, you're gone. You're at
she's
7:30.
You guys, she's like, man, pancakes sound good. I'm like, don't do that. And she's like, what about with chocolate milk? I'm like, stop. 7:55, we're gone.
Yep.
So, and then where Easton's not going to leave, but he wants to move on them really fast.
I do like to move.
Yeah, and Dad is just going to wait him out. So I guess my point is a lot of times when those birds get down and they're doing their thing, and then you feel like that's where I think probably a lot of guys get in trouble. They feel like they're leaving. Like this, they're leaving and they're not coming back. That's usually not the case. Would that be fair to say? Like they're usually just strutting around, and they go this way some, then they come back this way. So waiting them out.
Yeah, there'd be a different scenario. If you can hear the bird gobbling as he's moving, meaning moving farther and farther away, and you can distinctly tell that he's covered 200, 300, 400 yards, yeah, that bird's probably walking away. But what we're talking about is the one that sounds like he's louder, sounds like he's far away, sounds like he's louder, sounds like he's far away. And this goes on really good for an hour or a half hour. I mean, it's like, oh, boy. I mean, you think things are going to happen, and then he usually just shuts up, and then it's like, he gobbled 20 minutes later. Why did he do that? But he's in the same spot. Then if you don't hear him again for 25, 30 minutes, or you do hear him still every 25, 30 minutes, but he ain't doing anything, I think that's where an Easton goes, I'm going to get closer. I'm going to scoot around this way. He must be wanting to go here or there. What I'm saying is we should have done enough intel now that I'm like, he's going to come here. I feel he's going to work his way over here, so I'm going to be patient. And typically that means that I've got my decoys set up, I got my blind set up. where I felt like I had a good location of how he could get to me and I could see what was going on or hear what was going on. And so then I'm bought in. I'm there. I'm going to stay.
So how much are you calling to that bird over that? I'd say maybe it's a 2-hour period, 2.5 hours.
Probably a lot in the morning when they're vocal. I'm trying to get him fired up enough that he just comes. But then I dwindle off as he dwindles off. And then what'll end up happening is it's probably 25 to 30 minutes sometimes, maybe longer even, before I hit a call. And I don't do a lot of calling trying to get them to gobble. I'm waiting for them to gobble, and then I start. Then I kind of answer them. And then if he answers me, okay, now we got a little conversation. Hey, it's crazy to hear these suckers where they won't answer you, and then all of a sudden one gobbles on his own, you hit a yelp, and he answers you right away. And he's like got a whole different perspective on life. And 30 minutes later, you got a turkey.
Stroked his ego a little bit.
Okay, so scenario one, we could say, the other thing I would just note on that real quick is it is very interesting to me that I used to always think, and maybe this was different with Western birds, like I would always think like they're going to hit the ground and they're going to the field or they're going to a clearing to strut around. And maybe it's just the location of these ones, or maybe I just didn't remember correctly. Seems like they hit the ground and they don't go very far from the tree for an hour and a half before and then it's like, okay, now the flock is going to go somewhere that's relatively close, and that may be when they show up in the field or whatever.
Turkeys are a really big one. I think if you take the majority of what guys are hunting, everything seems a little fast-paced. Like you're pushed against a time clock. Like the deer's coming in at a certain point. He's not going to hang around there unless he beds or something. But he's coming to and from. He's gone. Elk, same thing. Like they're getting him to you. They're gone. They move away. They're moving away. Like everything is up against a clock all the time. What changed my perspective on turkeys was they can move a long ways in a short amount of time when they need to or want to. But if I started thinking about it as in these freaking turds are slugs, then you will change your perspective because it makes you realize that, okay, I don't have to press. I don't have to push. I don't have to get that far. They're just that freaking slow. They take an hour and a half to go 100 yards when they want to go slowly to a meadow or something. It's just how it is. And there's not very many other, in my opinion, there's not very many other animals you can really hunt that are like that, where you can literally just sit there and wait and wait and wait, and they're probably still there.
Yeah.
So that's a good perspective to have.
I do think that's probably something that we do way different now than probably 98% of turkey hunters. I think most turkey hunters are giving stuff 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and they're moving. Where the art of waiting on them, they'll do it. You just got to wait.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I didn't learn this from like I just magically figured it out. I'd screwed up, and what I was doing was, and this was in Montana, particularly one that I remember specifically. Birds gobbling, does exactly what you guys are talking about, gobbling off the roost like no other. And there wasn't any other turkeys in this. The place that I was hunting there wasn't many turkeys. This was over by Lewistown before I found the other places that I ended up hunting. And this bird's gobbling, going crazy. I'm like, this is going to work. Hour later, he quits gobbling. Okay, then I heard him gobble once, so I think, well, he's still over there, but then that was it. Another hour goes by, nothing. He left. He'd just gone. So I was hunting with a shotgun. Jason was with me, and we start walking over there. I shoot that sucker in the head at 15 yards when I topped a ridge, and he was strutting right there. I mean, he was there the whole time. And, and so I look back on that, and I go, did I really kill that turkey like traditional spring turkey hunting? No, but, I mean, when you walk up, and there he is strutting at 15 yards, and he doesn't see me because his tail's facing me. I just happened to walk over the hill at the right time. But my point was,
his bird was gobbling and stuff there.
He had been, but he hadn't for like the last. Yeah, we thought he would left, so we were going to go see if we could. There was a field down there, and we thought, well, we'll walk over there and be able to glass him down there in the field and see what he's doing. He was right where he had not moved 10 yards.
You shot him with your bow?
Shot him with a shotgun.
Oh, okay. So like spot and stock style.
Yeah, I mean
that's what
intentional.
Happened in Wyoming last year. Is John is probably the worst person you could ever turkey hunt with.
He's never turkey hunted, had he?
No, not until last year.
Yeah,
but
so,
and he immediately has given his input. I think we need to move. Because his bird, he killed in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, sat down and here he came. He's like, oh, I like this. Oh, I'm sure you do. And then the ones that we were trying to kill, we had one Jake peel off right away, and I was like, I think we just need to hold tight, John. Like we're going to get one to break here. And he's like, no. We can just sneak up right in that timber there, and we can just get right into him. And I was like, John, I don't think so. He's like, dude, I can't wait any longer, because then I made him wait like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm done. Like, let's just go up there. And then finally, when somebody's pestering you like that, you finally just break. Yeah. I'm like, all right, fine. And we make it like halfway, and then we spook a couple.
Yeah.
And I'm like, everyone get down. And he's like, what? Like, you didn't see the 2 freaking turkeys that were right in front of us? And he's like, we spooked some? Yeah. And then same thing. They were just chasing each other around and stuff, and we managed to get close enough that one just came right over the hill, and Nick and I told them, get down. Nick and I creeped up on the hill and shot one. But, okay, so scenario 1, I think we're saying is you've found the flock, you're set up in the morning. This is first week. We're assuming no pressure on these birds. Understand they may not come to you right away. You need to give them 2-3 hours, and there's a great chance that one of them's going to show up and come to you.
A lot of that is dependent on if you've scouted or not, too, though. If you haven't scouted, you just know where they're at. I still would say hang out there because there's a good chance they probably are going to come by there, but otherwise you may have a situation where they pitch the other way and you don't really realize it, and they're not going to come your way. So,
but I want to clarify what Warren just said. You found the flock. If I have my rathers and there's a flock or there's a lone tom that I see the evening before, or
I think that's a scenario 2.
I'm going to the lone one.
Can I pause?
I don't want numbers.
Okay, hold.
I think for the sake of what I've had responses on this so far, we've skipped some stuff, obviously.
Okay.
We've been trying to make this broken down, but in my opinion, we should do our scenario before we're talking about the type of bird or whatever situation is, simply setting up. Because I know dang well when I'm walking in the morning for the longest time, and last year I experienced it tremendously because I had the grand idea to take Dad, and he wasn't allowed to call or anything, so I've got the massive amount of pressure on me for the freaking turkey master, and I'm sitting there thinking like I was a 10-year-old again. Where do I set up here? I know exactly where the birds are. I know where they want to go and everything, but where should I set up? And I was second-guessing everything. And I've had a lot of people to simply, where are you, when you're in the morning, you've got birds gobbling ahead of you. You know where they're at. Are you setting up right under their roost? Are you setting up in the field? Are you setting up in timber? Are you setting up?
Okay, I think I have an idea on this because I think you're right, and we've had a lot of comments and people that are excited about this that are beginners.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe what we need to do first is let's do. So you have scouted. I think this is going to end up having to be 2 podcasts. Anyways, so you have scouted, and now. So you've scouted, you found turkeys.
Yeah.
And you have a flock, and you have a lone one.
There's a choice right there. Which one are you going to pick?
I think let's try and go kind of in order. Which one are you taking?
Single.
Okay.
With no doubt.
Okay.
I got a better chance of working that bird immediately. In my opinion.
So scenario, sorry guys, scenario A. We did scenario 1. Scenario A, we've done our homework, did our scouting. We found 2 separate. We have an option between a flock and we have a single. Dad's saying take the single. Take the single. If he's in the timber, are you setting up near him? If he's on the edge of timber, are you going to field where, as Easton was saying, what's the setup?
I mean, that's going to depend on your terrain, on what you think the bird is going to do. I think the biggest thing is don't get too close.
I was going to say, how close you
get. And I will back up because Jake DeLee, one of his questions that he just texted me, maybe answers part of this, is what time, his question was, how early should I be out there? He's brand new. He's never done this before. And he's like, how early should I go? And I said, well, typically birds are going to start gobbling as soon as it starts to get light. As soon as you can start to see like blue on this, we'll hear a turkey gobble. Once they start to gobble, they may not be able to see to the ground, but they can see. So you're going to have a harder time getting close to them. But at the same time, don't worry about it. I mean,
simply put, you need to be there
15 to 20
dark.
minutes early. Yes,
you
before it's daylight.
Yes, and that is 30 minutes before your sunrise.
Absolutely.
So you need to be there sitting in
30
the
minutes
dark.
before that.
Yes.
Yeah. If you're setting up a blind and everything, I'd say you need to be going 45 minutes to an hour. Just
simply for the fact of giving you time to set up.
Yes.
When you get to the point where you're really good at popping your blind up and everything, you know how to set your decoys up, especially because it's going to be dark, so you're not going to be able to see as well. You'll get down to I think we've set up in 5 minutes.
With 2 people, we can set up fast now.
One person throws a blind up, one person's throwing decoys up, and we're done. But that's plenty of that's hundreds of times of setting the stupid things up. So give yourself plenty of time, because the last thing you want to do is have them gobbling right there and you're halfway through with your pants down and now you see them and they see you.
So, and the thing I think to note on that is if you do accidentally get too close, they will shut up. Like they may not gobble because they're nervous now. Where if you are that early, I think a lot of times they kind of don't know. It gives them enough time
we've
to
walked
forget
under
about
them
it
before when it's pitch dark.
Again,
and they didn't know what was going on.
You got to take some things into account. Are there cattle? Are there horses around or something like that? Are there elk around? Because sometimes you can sound like you are that if you're pretty sure they didn't see you. When you talk about how how close to get, again, it just depends on terrain. If they're in the timber and it's all timber and I feel like I can work this bird before he ever gets to the field, I would do that. I would say the optimal distance, like 150 to 200 yards. And the reason that I'm not saying 100 yards and in is because then I feel like I'm in possibly within sight. Now, maybe that changes as the season goes on simply because the cover in the trees gets heavier. And then I know they can't see me as far.
If you do what Warren just did, though, that's really good in my opinion, very clear for somebody listening, and that is you have two options. When you've decided you're picking your single, you're picking your group, whatever you're doing, you're picking the single, now you're getting in there, and you have the option to either set up somewhat closer, it may still only be 50 to 100 yards, but in the timber with him, or you can set up a little further back, 150, 200 yards in a field with him. And which one are you going to pick there? On a beginner level, you know exactly where you're going with
I
this.
know, but my whole thing, probably the field. I'm probably setting up where I'm anticipating him going. The only thing that I would caveat that with is the one thing, keep in mind, if you can get in between the flock and him, that's where I'm going. I don't care whether it's timber or whether it's a field. Because I know that's what he wants. He's going to want to keep around
that
some
was an
other
expert
turkeys.
level comment.
Yeah,
it really was.
beginner.
I'm not going to lie. That was, even I wouldn't have thought of that. But that is like high level. There's a tip for you, a really freaking good tip. Assuming the fact that you have a tom in a group, get in between them. But simply put, for the simplest options here, you've picked a single tom. Now you are the beginner. You're in the middle of the darkness, and you have turkeys gobbling. You have to be able to think about this.
Right.
Okay? They're not going to understand all the different little intricacies.
Okay.
So you're picking the field because it's going to be the easiest place for you to get set up, get your decoys set up. They're going to be able to see your decoys, and you'll be able to work the bird a little bit.
Yes.
Versus if you go in the timber and you're very close, I will say, in my opinion, that's your hardest time to really – they're either going to do it right away or it's going to be really freaking hard to get them when they're right off the roost to come straight to you. It's either going to happen or it's not. And I don't like those odds, but do you agree with that?
I honestly – I mean, out of the hundreds of birds that we're talking about, I've killed very few directly off the roost. Like just flew down and here they come. Occasionally, Nick and I had probably one of the best experiences where 7 toms flew down. We did not know. They didn't gobble. I had not scouted this spot. It wasn't opening day, and I knew there would be birds there. We went in. I said, we're just setting up here because I know they come to this field. We set up. All of a sudden, we're right underneath them. When I'm talking right underneath them, we were 75, 80 yards. So we had not gone in early enough, they would have seen us because we were in the field. They were roosted over the field on the edge. But when they flew down, I was afraid that they were going to actually get to us so quickly that we wouldn't be able to film it. And they didn't. They flew down and they just screwed around out in the field and left. We didn't kill a turkey. We killed a turkey out of that spot, but not until 10:30 that morning.
Yeah.
Okay, so the single tom, how long are you giving him?
Well,
as far as what? Like how long are you giving him from just sitting there set up
I'm set up on this one single bird. You know, he's gobbling off the roost, gets off the roost. Am I giving him the same 2 to 3 hours that I would give a flock? Am I giving him an hour, and if he's goes silent, that I'm just ignoring him and moving on? What do I do there?
So, well, again, things that you want to make sure you want to listen for hens. Did hens move in? And
we're saying single tom.
Single tom. I think I'm giving him an hour and a half, and then if I can't get him to work, or if he sounded like he worked away from me, then he might be headed toward that flock. The other thing that I could be dealing with is I might be dealing with a chicken bird. I know that the moment that I pick that single, it's dependent upon how close he is to the flock.
Yeah.
So single bird, we're going to say we don't know that there's a flock or not. Then giving him about an hour and a half.
Probably.
Let's say for an hour he doesn't gobble at all. move on or wait?
Now I'm probably like, I think he knows that I'm here and he's going to show up. And I'm probably digging in my heels and say, come on, sucker.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what I would have. I would have been the polar opposite.
I'm like,
I've got one bird here, and he is not answering me. Up yours,
Yep.
buddy. I'm on to the next.
I'd be like, I'm at breakfast or I'm walking.
Yeah.
And I'm probably saying he's coming.
So
This is why he kills
really,
more birds.
So you could probably say as a rule of thumb, for single or flock, you need to give them 2 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
If your goal is to kill a bird and not a pancake, give them 2 hours. Okay. So we
If you're
got that
okay
there.
with the chocolate and pancake, though, that's all right.
I'll tell you what.
accept
Sometimes
it.
there's just nothing like breakfast after getting up at 5 a.m. and being out in the woods, and like honestly, I think from now on when I listen, I want to go on breakfast dates. We're just gonna go sit in a blind for like 15 minutes, and then it just makes it's like yes, breakfast.
Oh yeah, it makes you feel it. Me and Joe
The
used to have
best
one of
one-
those. Ours got shut down forever, permanently
Yeah,
closed.
that sucks. The best one ever was in Montana. It was like the most picturesque mountain thing we've ever done. We were hunting birds in the mountains, and I was with Jim for whatever reason. And where we went, we didn't see anything. We heard a couple gobbles, and that was it. And then Dad's texting us. He's like, "Hey, where are you guys?" And we found this mountaintop diner, and we're eating pancakes at 7 a.m.
Intentionally, or you guys were just hunting and you're like, "Oh look, there's a."
Well, this was before phones and everything, and so I remember we were in a Suburban, and we were saw us, and he's like, "Is that a breakfast place?" And I was like, "Yeah, look, there's a sign. It said pancakes." And it was actually chocolate chip. And then what's the cherries they have up in the Flathead?
Oh, choke cherries.
Or huckleberries.
Huckleberries.
Right.
That Jim saw this huckleberry pancake. We're not going turkey hunting. And so then we were eating.
That's like a
breakfast.
cartoon.
And then Dad calls. He's like, "Where are you guys?" Jim's like, "Oh, we're having breakfast." And it was, this view of this gorgeous valley, and it was so much better than the turkey hunting.
No idea
Anyways.
there.
Anyways,
I probably killed a turkey that morning.
Yeah, most likely.
my one question with that is, let's say you do have a single off of a flock. I feel like there's a 70% chance that's a chicken bird.
Here's what I would explain. A lot of times, chicken bird's going to be roosted with the flock. He's so close you can't tell that he's not in the flock. Meaning you hear several turkeys gobbling because he's going to be held up 70 yards away. When I'm talking about a single is I got a group of birds all gobbling here 400 or 500 yards away, and I can still hunt there. I got a single bird that sounds like he's gobbling there. I'm going after that one.
Okay.
Not now.
You think the chicken birds are usually that close?
Yeah, that close. I think,
Really?
Yep. I think he hangs out just like they do walking around the flock. They want to be there.
So what do you think explains the lone single? He just got beat out?
Yeah, he just or he
hasn't gotten in yet.
Yeah, or he just said, "I'm going to find a hen that will come to me, so I'm going to go start looking on my own." And he just branches off, and so now he's just trying to out-gobble everyone that morning, be the dude that she leaves, and here she comes.
Okay. So I think one other thing I think we missed here, if I'm trying to get time off of work or understand when I need to be chasing turkeys, morning or evening? Mornings. Okay. So now we've covered the two most likely scenarios, in my opinion, on a morning. Now let's say that you don't kill anything in the morning. What's the plan for the afternoon, or the most typical scenario? I hate afternoons. Unless I have a really good idea of
I got to know
where they're going to go.
Where I've seen them going, where they're at, and or that is if I don't know much else. Or my safer bet is going to their roost. Not right under it, but I know they're going to want to come back there at some point if I can't get a response or anything. So I'm going to go to the place that they're going to want to come back to.
So that's probably noteworthy. So why do you guys prefer morning against the evening?
They're more vocal.
Communication.
More vocal for sure.
Off
the tree, and and then because you got a narrow where Easton was talking about, you're up against time. He was referring to it in a little different context. In the morning, you got lots of time. They're going to be out doing stuff till 1 o'clock. And sometimes it can get better, 9, 10 o'clock, where in the afternoon, I don't believe turkeys get going again. Again, I'll throw out that 5 o'clock thing, 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. I got 2 hours here. And then, because if you don't catch them before they start working their way to the roost, it's really hard to get them to veer off one way or another. You can do it once in a while, but it's very difficult.
So if I go out in the afternoon and go to a place where I think there's birds or I know there's birds and I don't hear a gobble, that's normal. I should expect that. I should move on.
You're probably hearing way less, in my opinion, from my experiences, way less gobbling in afternoons. Unless you've come in and you find every once in a while you'll find or I guess it's probably not terribly hard to find them, but you find the one or two birds that are at some point or another, as long as you're around to hear it, will start going nuts again or something. But it's typically not nearly as long either as what it is in the morning.
I feel so. I think maybe this. I feel like there's 3 scenarios that you're going to run into in an afternoon. You're going to go
silence. That's one.
You're going to go to a place where you know there's turkeys, and you're going to hit a call, and nothing. You're going to hit a call again in an hour, nothing. Or scenario 2, you're going to walk in there, and you're going to hit a call, and you're going to get a gobble back almost immediately in the distance, and you give him 15, 20 minutes, hit a call again, doesn't answer. Or scenario 3, where you're going to walk in somewhere in the afternoon, you're going to hit a call, immediately hammers, and then you give it like 3 or 4 minutes, which you should probably do on number 2 as well, but give it 3 or 4 minutes, you hit a call again, hammers again, sounds like he may have even moved already. Would that be, I would feel like that's your 3 most common scenarios.
Well, you got to understand knowing what the turkeys are doing.
Well, number 3, let's do 3 first, because I think everybody knows that one is the easiest, at least here. Like, what is 3?
Shoot the bird.
Because it's a
crackhead.
It's a crackhead.
Yeah.
Like, that bird's coming. In the afternoon like that, you hit a call, and he hammers right away, and then he hammers again. That bird is on his way. Get ready.
You've caught a rare one.
Yep. So
don't screw this up.
Yeah.
Number 2 and 1 is much more common, in my opinion. So which one's more difficult? Number 1, I think, is more difficult.
Oh, yeah, when you have nothing to go off of.
So what do you do
There's
in
no
that
encouragement either.
You got to trust it. Okay, so here I will go and tell people that, because I did it for so long. You walk out there, you hit a call, whether you hit a turkey call, whether you hit a crow call or an owl call, or you slam a car door or whatever you're doing, you need a turkey to gobble because I only got a little bit of time before it's going to get dark. So you're trying to make them gobble. So you walk out there and you, there ain't one here. Walk another 100 yards, nothing here. Go, keep going. No turkeys here. In your truck and go to the next spot. You just walk by turkeys.
And you probably also just educated a crap
and you educated turkeys. What I do now is I don't do any of that. I go and I sit down for a few minutes. When I say a few minutes, 25, 30 minutes. I can't tell you how many times. I know you've been with me when I'm like, we're just going to wait here for just not make any sound. And they'll make a freaking mistake. I just need one to know there's where he is. And then what I've got to do is know where I think he wants to go. Now I'm going to get in between there, and then I'm probably going to wait for him to gobble one more time. If he'll gobble on his own one more time, now I'm going to answer him. So I'm trying to like roll revert, and I'm already kind of headed back where I think he wants to go. And that's how I think I changed that scenario. That is, I go in and I sit, and especially on it. That's why I hate hunting really windy days, because I can't hear. And I hate that I'm getting older because I'm losing my hearing. Easton definitely hears turkey sometimes now that I don't, and that did not used to be the case.
Well, I think you're going to be just fine, because now you're at my level.
Well,
I don't know how many times we've all been hunting, and there's been a turkey a bull that's bugled, and you're like, oh, there's one. I'm like, what? And I think I hear pretty good. And both of you, all the time, hear them where I don't.
I proved it the other day on him. I felt bad. I didn't mean to do it. We were
that wasn't a turkey.
No, but it was noise.
Yeah, I don't know what you heard, because I didn't hear anything.
We were burning, and we were spraying out one of the logs or whatever, and it's like it sounded just like when you throw a bottle in a fire, where it goes and it gets super high pitched, and then it goes. It was something in the log, obviously, was sizzling or whatever. Well, I hear it start and do that. It goes, woo, it gets really high pitched. And I'm looking at Dad. I'm like, what the heck is in that log that is freaking making that noise? And he's looking at me like, what are you talking about? I said, you don't hear the freaking super loud, high-pitched noise going right now? He's like, no. I said, right now you don't hear it? Couldn't hear it at all. and it was louder than piss. I was like, oh my.
Elk for me, it was Dad to be like, "Oh, there's one," and I'm like, and I was like, "What?" And then he'd bugle again. Dad would be like, "You didn't hear that one? That one's too." I'm like, "No," and like I didn't even believe him half the time. Then we go over there, and then an elk. Okay, but anyways, so back to where we were supposed to be talking about. But let's just say the scenario where they don't gobble. What do? You go home? Do you go find another spot? Do you keep going? Do you just set up shop?
I can tell you the most detrimental thing you can do.
I think there's two classifications of that. Let's do classification one, where you know the turkeys, you have scouted, and you know, like we have places where we're like, we know there's a great chance that a bird is going to show up here. And then let's just say category 2, where you haven't done scouting and you don't really know. So category
first off,
1,
the one thing I'd be saying too, if you didn't hunt the morning will tell you a lot. But I guess we're assuming that I think most of you guys do this. This shouldn't be a bad comment to make, but you probably have more than one place to hunt. I mean, turkeys, if you don't know it, I mean, they are easier to go get permission for too. But I'm in my head on all these. I'm thinking like I'm going off the fact that if I screw these up or whatever, I can give them a few days, come back later or whatever, or go to a different spot. I'm not thinking like I'm just imagining the dude that's sitting here listening that has one spot and one flock of turkeys or something. I'm gonna be playing it super freaking safe because I'm gonna make sure that one time I can get one of these suckers to come in, it's done. And that would change what I'd be doing. But
I think you were a minute ago. You were about to say something that was super important. I think that what you're not gonna do.
Yeah, but walking. What I've done many times is walking through your timber or going through the areas and trying to call and listen for a little bit, and you don't hear much, and then call a little bit more, and then you go on a little bit. That is probably the worst thing you could possibly be doing, in my opinion, because all you're doing now is there's a great chance there are birds there. There's a great chance birds probably heard you. There's a great chance they just don't want to answer right now. And now you're walking around. If one of them sees you or something, and then you turn around and you're calling again, that's what makes the end of the season so much more difficult, because the amount of people that do that, including myself before, that educates the crap out of them real quick.
And that's where I think that, like, what I'm talking about, going in, being quiet, hear one gobble, and then you answer him, they're not used to that. That's not happening. And I had the fortunate, probably it might be the largest largest hunting scenario that I ever learned was on a turkey situation in Arkansas, and a guy did exactly that. I was hunting public land. I know this bird. I've been hunting this bird now for 3 years. I'm trying to kill this stupid same turkey, kind of like a bushy beard deal. Mm-hmm. But he would basically roost in the general vicinity, and I figured it out. I didn't have private land to hunt, so I had public. Anyhow, I get there that morning. I'm way before daylight. But now someone down on the private ground I can hear them driving a four-wheeler. So I think they're feeding cows or something like that. Well, then the four-wheeler comes on up, and they must have a place to get through the fence. And they're coming up. This bird is gobbling his freaking head off. I mean, he's gone 15, 20 times before, and I'm just sitting there. I'm not making a sound. And this four-wheeler starts to get closer and closer, and then the bird stops gobbling. The four-wheeler stops probably 150, 200 yards from him, pretty long ways away from me. And the first thing I hear is, woo, 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 woo. Then, ah, 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 ah. Bird never answers, because I'm worried. I'm like, this dude's going to freaking hear this turkey, and then we're going to be battling. He's not going to know I'm here. Turkey doesn't make a sound. Four-wheeler starts up, drives up. He gets on the other side of the turkey, goes through the same scenario, drives a little farther, same scenario. And that bird never made one sound. So then I sit there thinking, because he drove, I don't know how close to the turkey. I'm like, did he pitch out of the tree? And I just don't know. This is like an hour now. It's way daylight.
How do you know this is the same bird?
Because he was always roosted in roughly the same tree, right in the same probably
there wasn't
1 acre spot.
Unique about him that was.
No, I had never seen him.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'd seen him in the trees and everything. He'd come close to me. I didn't have decoys back then. I mean, I was just hunting. And so anyhow, now I'm sitting there, and about an hour or something, he freaking hammers, and then hammers again, and I'm like, that son of a... He knew that was a person. And I was like, so I thought, I'm going to kill him. So I just made a couple purrs and scratched in the leaves, and he gobbled like crazy. I'm like, this is done. flew down, went straight the other way. And I ended up shooting that bird, and I did not kill him. Then I don't know if it was the next day, but the next time, because I said, okay, I'm just going to wait for him to come back to his roost and not sit on the roost, but close by. And here he comes, and right as I knew I was close, but I didn't know how close, and he comes walking in through the timber. I got the shotgun. This is that Mossberg 835. I missed every freaking turkey and he just walks up. As he walks up, I never made a sound. I just knew he was coming. When he got to like 35 yards, I said, I got your ass. Boom! I blew limbs beside him, and he flew up in the freaking tree and just sat up in the tree above me. And I'm like, okay, now what do you do? I'm not going to shoot him out off the roost. And so I didn't shoot him. I just sat there looking at him. And then I waited till it got dark and I left. And that was the last time I ever hunted him. Because I felt like
you need to stop hunting birds that you've hunted year after year.
Why? Because it ends
because you've
tragically.
never killed one.
I don't. It was my point is that bird had figured out exactly what you're talking about. Now
I shot one 3 times.
You did?
That same, the one with you.
Oh yeah, and you did kill him though with your shotgun.
With the shotgun.
But that was the scenario you're referring to, but on public land and adding a 4-wheeler into it.
Yeah.
They will learn what's going on. And if you're doing the same thing that everyone else is doing, you're probably not going to have success. Doing something different is going to make a difference. And a lot of times just sitting and listening is the best thing you can do. The one that I go to this was you, we were hunting between Wag South and Wag North that day in an afternoon.
Yep.
And I can't tell you how many times you were like, what are we sitting here for?
Oh, yeah.
No gobbling.
Well, that's kind of where I was trying to go with you do know where they're at. Like, the only reason we killed those birds is because they didn't, in the afternoon, I don't think we'd hunted there that morning. But you knew these birds, and you knew that they liked to come through there and that they did it all the time. And so we'd been sitting there for 2-3 hours, not a gobble, nothing. Then it was getting pretty close to where they should be heading towards the roost.
Yep.
And so then I'm like, still nothing. I was like, we're wasting time. And we just waited. And as you were 100% right. Here they come right over the hill, comes right down and comes right in. And I think too, so I think that in this situation, a scenario where you do know the birds, you just got to be patient. You just, as much as it sucks, you just got to be willing to wait.
And especially like you see those goofy suckers, they'll be 300 yards away, like way too far. They're like, why are they're not coming today? Because they're over here. When they decide they want to go, like yesterday, I was just telling you yesterday, I told Easton, I drove by some birds and they were over in a cornfield. And then I came back by 30 minutes later expecting them to see farther out in the cornfield going toward the timber where they normally roost. Nope. They were in the alfalfa field coming up toward the road. They were 300, 400 yards away from where I'd seen them 45 minutes ago.
Yeah. So I think the other part of that is when you don't know where those birds are and you're hunting somewhere for the first time, you're hunting there in the afternoon, I think you want to look for signs stuff, but then just trust your gut. Like stuff that looks like, man, there should be a turkey here. If I was in that position, I would sit there and you're probably going to hear a gobbler or something too at some point somewhere, and you're either going to have one show up or you're going to end up in a position where you don't see anything, and well, now you roughly know. And let's say that you're going to be hunting the next day, hopefully in the morning. In a morning, me personally, if I'm go somewhere and I'm not hearing birds, I'm moving.
Yeah, we've done that.
Because they are not there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you're at that same
off the roost,
place,
you're talking about. Like
yes.
you get there and you're anticipating hearing turkeys off the roost and you don't hear any, you probably don't have birds there.
Yeah, I would not rule out a place in the evening.
What's that?
They're on the roost.
On the roost, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I would not rule out a place in the evening, meaning that I'm there, I hunted this all day, then I didn't hear anything gobble when there should be up in the roost. I would not be still saying, okay, that place has no turkeys. I would be going back there in the morning, and if I don't hear anything, then yeah, I'm moving. And
that's another really good
places.
reason to go early. Me and Dad had that happen last year. We went into a spot, and we went early enough that we hadn't been able to scout it. Not a single bird anywhere. And we had enough time still to go to another spot and be able to go hunt. But I will say, this is a tip you taught me from whitetail hunting, that I would counter you on the trust in yourself in the evening or something when you haven't scouted, you don't know when birds are there. I would argue that it would almost be more beneficial for you. Don't hunt. Don't go set up. if you have the evening and you don't know anything about where the birds are at or anything at all, and you are going to be hunting the next couple of days or something, take that time and sit at a vantage point. Sit somewhere up high where you're not set up with decoys or whatever. You're just sitting where you're out of the way, and you can do your scouting right then. And that way, when you hear the bird down way over one way or way over another way, maybe you can see a couple other birds in different places. Now, your next morning, instead of just going off of what you maybe heard, you're going off of, okay, I saw birds that were hanging out over there, and I saw some over there, or I heard 2 or 3 over here. Now you've now taken your evening, and instead of pushing into the woods or something where you're trying to get close and hopefully get a shot, now you've taken it where your next morning you're setting yourself up for a heck of a morning, hopefully.
Yeah.
But that's just something I've learned from deer hunting that Warren for a long time was like, sometimes if you can't find the deer, you should just take a day or two. If they're not there, clearly they're somewhere else. Go drive around, go sit on a hill, go scout or something, and that's huge.
So if you're the guy that has limited time and you're trying to but you can kind of alter your schedule, meaning you get a day off you talk to your boss and he's like, yeah, you can take one of the days off this week. And the day I'm looking for is the best weather day. And meaning if it's going to get cold, like I'm looking at our forecast for this weekend. This weekend's in the 70s, but Monday is 42 degrees and rainy. I would not hunt that. If I had limited time, I would wait till the weather got better 2 days later to go. Now, if I have the choice between that's a Friday or a Saturday when I'm going to be dealing with a lot more competition, I'm probably going on the Friday and try to work around the weather. Because the other thing I will tell you, the weather can be a factor, a major factor. However, if you can get a window in the weather during the day, it can be night. I mean, it will change that much. You can have birds that just will react.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things that I would say, but go early, listen, do a lot more listening than you do calling, even though when I'm calling, I'm intentional and I do a lot of calling. I definitely call more than the average person.
What about an afternoon though?
Afternoon, I don't call as much. I'm more reserved because I know they're not as fired up. Now, when I get one I feel like one is responding and he's like maybe moving. And let me back up. That is another tip that I would want people to know, that if I get a turkey, especially in the afternoon, and he's moving and gobbling, I'm hammering him with calls because he's interested at least. I love movement. Not straight away from me, but movement around me or whatever. And that's another one that we have pulled off. If you can move, Nick and I did that. When we killed his bird, we drove around and then walked all around, and we kept calling. The bird would answer me, call and move, answer me, call and answer me. We kept moving, and we moved on that bird. Nick was hunting with a shotgun. And then when we got within 60 or 70 yards, that bird just came walking right along the edge of the fence line, because he was positive that was a real hen coming to him, but not coming directly to him. She's just kind of skirting me, so now he was going to move and cut her off.
Yep. So if there was the three most important takeaways that we would give somebody out of this podcast, what would they be?
Pick it. Well, I guess it starts from your scenario. It's all kind of all based on what you're seeing or what you're not seeing. But your first one is picking, as a general perspective, pick the one that gives you the best odds, because you're always going to have choices, especially when it comes to turkeys. You're going to be picking this or that, picking this or that. Pick the one that you're the most confident with, that you feel you have the most cards stacked in your favor. And then the second one I would say is time is not against you.
Yeah.
Be patient. And as freaking difficult as it is, especially with turkeys, it doesn't make sense, because when it cracks and it breaks and they come in, it don't feel like it's taken forever. It is like shit hits the fan real quick, but take your time. I don't have a third one yet, but
so number one to me would be hunt mornings. You're going to learn so much more in the mornings, and you're going to figure out where the birds are, and it's going to give you the baseline information that you need to be able to make educated decisions for the afternoon or later in that morning. Number two, be patient. However long you think you need to wait, times it by 3, and that's probably about accurate for most of us. If you're more on Easton and I's line, maybe 4.
yeah. Or 5.
Yeah. So if you are wanting to like really get after them, then you need to times it by 4 to 5. And so if you're thinking I need to give this 15 minutes, you need to be giving it an hour to an hour and 15, at least, from whenever you think it needs to be. Number 3. Do you have a third one?
Mm-hmm.
What's the third one?
Well, you guys mentioned. I think we all agree on the patience thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think we all agree. The number one to me. I know that people think I'm nuts. Scout.
But
The more scouting you do, the more successful you're going to be at turkey hunting.
And I think a lot of that's because you're saying to kill them before you even.
Yeah, you've got it done before opening day starts.
Yep.
I mean, but so, and then we should clarify one more thing, because when you talk about like the evening, you don't hear anything, don't be afraid to go back to that spot. And the next morning you'd be surprised. All of a sudden there's 10 turkeys gobbling. But if you have a turkey gobbling in the evening, that is just gobbling his head off. I was trying to think of a scenario where we didn't ever go back and get a shot at that turkey or kill it. I feel like we've killed every one of them. When they're just freaking out in the evening on the roost, I feel like every single one of those turkeys has come in.
We're now going to have that happen 2 or 3 times this year and not kill a single one.
I feel like that's correct.
Jinxed us.
I would be willing to. I'd be willing to take on that, because I can't.
They are fired up. I mean,
when you get that one, there's a couple rare things, and when you get those, they're just, you don't miss that.
Yeah.
So that would be the one that I would add, is scout. I mean, because the more scouting you do, the better. It's going to be easier to be patient, and it's going to pay off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Show.
I feel like we didn't even hardly scratch the surface.
No, they're going to. Well, but the more scenarios, though, you are going to have a lot of people. And if you guys have stuff, send it. Either go on our website and send it to us. There's plenty of places you can contact us on there. Or any of you longtime listeners are probably annoyed by hearing it. contact@raisedhunting.com is the email. contact@raisedhunting.com. You can send us stories. You can send us questions. And that is contact@raisedhunting.com. Thank you.
While Warren's looking up the wacky fact, I will because one of the scenarios I think that we don't cover here, because you guys have never done it, but like the back east guy, it's all timber.
Yeah.
And what I'm looking for there is my field is now a road.
Mm-hmm.
The logging road that goes through there, that's my field. Or an opening in the timber, that's my field. A flat on top of the ridge, that's my field. That I'm looking for a good place for that bird to feel comfortable. You can just get there and strut and do his thing. So that's how you would apply what we're talking about to an area like that, because they do deal with a lot of turkeys back there, and they're fun to hunt when you're just in rolling hills and there's no farm ground or anywhere close.
Yeah.
And those birds will be back there living on acorns and stuff, but they'll find places like we're talking about to do their strutting and whatnot. So that's how I would go about that.
Well, I think Miriams are so much
more fun,
so much different. Like, yeah, if you got some Miriams that aren't working, go find some others.
Yeah,
because you'll find you a crackhead pretty quick. In the 1980s, A&W introduced a third-pound burger to compete with the McDonald's quarter pounder, offering more meat at the same price. However, the product failed because many customers mistakenly believed that a third pound was smaller than a quarter pound, leading them to perceive it as lesser value.
That is so bad. I could get it, though, if you don't pay attention to your fractions or anything at all. A quarter even sounds better than a third. It's way less, but it definitely sounds more appealing.
That's like all these guys that okay, this guy is your weekend warrior at best. Anytime you post a score of a deer, and they're like, I loved the deer until you said 3/8, or it's always 4/8. It's a half, you dick.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah, okay, all right, buddy, okay.
I hate that.
This one's kind of interesting. I know it's all that wacky, and I feel like their interpretation could be completely wrong. A cave in France contains the footprints of an 8 to 10-year-old boy left in the mud approximately 26,000 years ago. That's crazy. Alongside the paw prints of either a wolf or a large dog. This discovery represents the oldest evidence of human-canine relationships ever found. My question would be, how do you know that the wolf wasn't eating him?
No, very well could have been.
So maybe
You would definitely think, though, if the wolf was eating him, though, his tracks would have been on the other tracks. It wouldn't have been next
maybe
to him.
maybe they walked,
Yeah.
walked side by side for a extended period or something.
Interesting. I could give you a wacky fact.
What?
I was watching History Channel on about Area 51. It's not aliens, although I do have wacky facts on aliens. But this one is about how America totally tricked Russia quite humorously. They were in a race to build one of the most impressive airplanes or whatever for surveillance and everything. We had to use it out of specific aluminum, super light aluminum, or like aircraft aluminum stuff, and we could only make a little bit of it. And Russia's the one that is like beating us to the punch on this. We'd only get a certain amount from America. So America decided we're going to go build like 100 or 200 different freaking little BS companies, and went and bought all of their supply for their plane of their steel and everything, their aluminum, and got it here, built it, and beat them to the thing by buying their own freaking steel from them.
Wait, say that one more time.
America couldn't get enough aluminum for their plane to build it right.
Okay.
And they're trying to beat
Russia,
and Russia's ahead. And so America built like 150, 200 little companies, American companies, and had all of them go buy certain amounts of the aluminum from Russia. So they sourced it from Russia and bought all of Russia's freaking aluminum, built our plane, and then beat Russia with their own aluminum.
Why were the Russians allowing export of aluminum?
That's what
to
I was
America?
wondering. But it was freaking funny. It was pretty strategic. I think it was that one, actually.
This is kind of funny just because this would have been a red button for sure. Jake the Lee sent me one. He's like, I think I got a wacky fact for you.
Is that one I sent you a screenshot?
No.
Oh, I sent you one.
That was from him?
Yeah.
No, this is a different one. He messaged me.
Okay.
And I saved it because I wanted to share it on here as far as my response. But he's like, I think I got a wacky fact for you. And I was like, all right, let's hear it. And he says, you know the song That Summer by Garth Brooks? You know? And he's like, I was like, yeah. He's like, do you know that's about him bagging an old lady? And I told him, I said,
oh my gosh,
that's to Jake, not Joey. I said,
yes.
And this is what I told him. I said, well, and then I watched her hands of leather turn to velvet in a touch. I said, that part kind of gave it away for me.
Like the first freaking verse.
You know what?
But I told him, I said, I bet you she had a couple hundred acres.
That's what I said. The wacky fact that's missing is they don't tell you how much ground she owned.
Yes.
I can't believe. How old were you when you learned that Garth Brooks was singing about being a high schooler banging a freaking grandma?
Yeah.
Jake was 35 or whatever he was. Oh my gosh.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That was good stuff.
That
Are
was
we
funny.
done?
I was like,
Yeah.
Jake, I think honestly, this is the first time you ever listened to the lyrics.
Yeah, I've never heard anybody question that song.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious.
It's all right. Easton used to think the Superman song by Kanye or somebody said,
Pantyhose.
Pantyhose.
Superman, that pantyhose.
I don't even know what the real term is now because of that.
Superman, that.
Oh, are you talking about Soldier Boy?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was something else, though. I always thought it was pantyhose.
I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to get out of here. Some of you guys are fortunate and in priority chasing turkeys right now. Let's see. What is today's date? Oh, yeah.
27th.
Nebraska opened 2 days ago. What? 17 days until
You should
we
not
open.
have said that. That is a lot longer than I was anticipating.
But we're getting close. So hopefully
No, we got Hadley,
Yas.
so we can go. We can
You
take
can
it
go early.
youth. Lauren asked me yesterday. She's like, I don't want to tell Hadley anything yet. Like, so just what are your? I said we'll take him.
Yeah.
You tell him. And I was like, the only thing is, I know
You're going to be
I know
fighting who's
Easton
taking
wants
him.
to go. I was like, yeah, and I was like, and I want to go.
I mean,
And then
like 10 of us-
I bet Dad wants to go. And it's like, so it's
I'll
probably
wait.
gonna end up being a whole bunch of us in the blind.
I'll take Lauren.
Yeah, well,
Later.
Lauren doesn't get to hunt youth season.
Yeah, I know.
So
All right.
anyhow, our turkey season does not start till April 14th. So the youth season starts the weekend before, I think is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it must
think
I
be
think it's
full
only a
week.
couple
7.
days. No, it's only a few days, I think, if I looked right this year. Or
I-
they've changed a lot of the youth seasons in the past 3-4 years.
Yeah, they were I mean, we've taken a lot of kids out, and it's usually pretty fun. So we'll see if we can get Hadley. We got a videographer that's got his kid has never
April
killed a turkey.
11th through the 13th.
Yeah. So
Is it 4 days?
is the
It's still
11th
2 weeks.
a Friday? Give him a Friday.
Let me see.
That's the week. Yeah, that's like Thursday through Sunday.
Yeah,
What that is.
Friday through Sunday.
Friday through
Yeah.
Sunday. Okay. All right. Well, other than that, though, we sure appreciate you guys tuning in. Hopefully, we helped you. Send in the questions, though, because I know that the scenarios we're talking about were especially if you guys live in a different part of the country, you're dealing with turkeys in a different manner and stuff like that. I've hunted the swamps as well, so that we haven't talked anything about that. That can be different. The tip I would tell you there is turkeys do like to roost over water. I don't know why. I've heard lots of different theories, but if you have standing water in your timber, that's where your birds are probably going to be roosted. So there's a little tip for you guys. But other than that, check out our website. Don't forget those black on black sweatshirts are in for you big guys is the new one, and they're kick ass. So be one of the first ones.
The regular ones
yeah.
are cool too.
Well, the regular ones are cool, but this one's new and I really like it. So
which is crazy because I designed this one and Dad designed the other one, and you don't like his.
I like it. I wear it, but the new one
That's
is
one I wear, too.
really cool.
All
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys next week on the Raised Hunting Podcast.